From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Nwawodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Vice President Kashim Shettima appeals to Kogi residents to support the All Progressives Congress as the party flags off its governorship campaign rally in Lokoja, the state capital. Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, raises concern over insecurity challenges in Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi states ahead of November's off-cycle governorship elections. Lagos State Government to demolish the Jankara, Obata and Beleura markets in Lagos Island as part of the state's urban regeneration efforts. And families search for their loved ones as death toll from Hamas attack on Israel rises to 1,000 with over 100 kidnapped from Israel. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is raising concerns over the rising cases of insecurity in Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi states ahead of the November 11 governorship elections. The commission, in a statement signed by the National Commissioner and chairman of its Information and Voter Education Committee, Sam Olumeko, appealed to political parties and their candidates to avoid actions and utterances capable of heating up the polity. Meanwhile, the Commission is now asking all political parties to register their agents on the portal on or before Tuesday, October the 10th. The statement says the registration exercise, which commenced on August the 24th, has many of the political parties yet to register, making INEC to set the October 10 deadline. Well, according to that statement, about 55% of the participating political parties have uploaded their polling units agents in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi State. And INEC says the portal for registering polling units and collation center agents will close at midnight on Tuesday, October the 10th, and there will be no extension. And with about 4 weeks to the governorship election in Kogi State, the Vice President of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, is now calling on residents of the state to support the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Usman Ahmed Ododo, in order to improve the level of infrastructure and the human capital development in the state. The Vice President was speaking at the flag-off of the APC governorship campaign in the state at the Muhammadu Buhari Square.
Governor Yahaya Bello leads the Vice President and members of the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress, APC, to the Muhammad Buhari Square, the venue for the event where thousands of party supporters joyously received them. The team moves straight to the podium as Governor Yahaya Bello takes time out to present the scorecard of his last 8 years as governor.
My appreciation goes to Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for providing this platform and support for all of us here in Kogi State to be where we are today. I appreciate our party under the leadership of our national chairman, Dr. Omar Ganduje, CON, for giving us the opportunity to be here today.
His counterpart from Ogun State, Governor Dapo Abiodun, notes that Kogi State deserves a successor who will consolidate on the laudable achievements of Governor Yahaya Bello.
It's important to consolidate on the successes of the White Lion, who has done very well for the people and government of this great state. This is Ahmed
While presenting the party's flag to the governorship candidate of the party, the APC national chairman applauds the governor for the level of work done in Kogi State in terms of infrastructural development as well as presenting a candidate.
Governor Yahaya Bello, we have to thank him for providing good governance to the people of Kogi State for the last 7.5 years. You are all aware, he has changed the landscape of Kogi State.
The APC governorship candidate commends President Tinubu for recognizing youths in his appointments, as he promises not to disappoint the party and the people if given the mandate to serve as governor of the state.
I'm not going to disappoint the entire nation. You yourself and Mr. President will be proud to say that you have a son in me in Kogi State to deliver on the mandate under His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu renewed hope.
The Vice President urges the people of Kogi State to align with the federal government in order to benefit from the 8-point agenda of President Tinubu's administration. He also announces the President's approval of funds for the construction of Ganaja Road, in addition to the completion of the Abuja-Lokoja-Okene Road and Kaba-Ilorin Road.
It's absolutely essential that we should vote for a younger, a much more patriotic person who is grounded with the realities of Kogi existence. The President has just approved funds for the construction of the Ganaja Road. And be rest assured that the Abuja-Lokoja-Okene Road, the Kaba-Ilorin Road, is also going to receive federal attention.
The Kogi State governorship election is scheduled to hold on November the 11th, and the APC remains confident of victory in the polls.
And still talking politics over in Imo State, which is also bracing up for the November 11 governorship election. Political activities are in full swing as political parties and their candidates are crisscrossing the length and breadth of the state, wooing electorates. Endorsements, defections, accusations and counter-accusations are now daily occurrences in the political space in the state. Our next report takes a look at the recent political happenings in Imo State ahead of the election, especially amongst the three major political parties. That's the APC, the PDP and the Labour Party.
The stage is getting set for what will be another defining moment for the citizens of Imo State, who on November the 11th will make a choice on whom to commit their Commonwealth to in the next 4 years. Participating political parties are pitching their ideas on why they should be preferred for the top job, leaving the people with a list of options. In Irete community of Owerri West local government area, indigents are here at the instance of the leaders of the community to endorse Governor Hope Uzodinma for a second term in office, and according to them, his stride requires continuity.
And so Owerri West people, we have not seen it this good before. All distinguished Senator Hope Uzodinma made it possible that our leaders, our people, today, Owerri West for our remarks to come and show distinguished Senator Hope Uzodinma support that we are 100% in support of his second term bid.
A similar sentiment is shared by some members and supporters of the obedient movement across the 27 local government areas of the state. For them, Governor Uzodinma remains the most qualified and experienced amongst the major contenders.
We must state clearly that the current governor, who has been a known philanthropist for years before he became governor in this state, is far better than other candidates of the two major opposing parties who have questionable characters.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party has continued to receive defectors from other political parties, including members of the Labour Party, Action Alliance, SDP, APGA, who are expressing their support for the PDP governorship candidate, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, as he highlights his agenda.
I'm going to engage 10,000 youths in what is called a program I called Community-Based Guard Initiative. Instead of taking 4,000 youths to Europe and Canada, we will engage them here. They'll be properly engaged. You can give them grants to set up business. They will become employer. They become self-employed, an employer of labor.
For the governorship candidate of the Labour Party, Senator Atan Achonu, his campaign train has been visiting different local government areas with promises to revamp the industries. At the media chat, he condemns the alleged militarization in some communities in the Kigbe senatorial district, amongst other concerns.
So many families are left homeless, scores dead, and many missing and yet to be accounted for. It grieves my heart that these dastardly acts are being directed at defenseless citizens.
As political parties continue their campaigns, what perhaps is of immediate concern to the indigents is to be able to exercise their franchise in a peaceful atmosphere on November the 11th and live in peace afterwards.
Away from politics now, farmlands, residential buildings and other valuables worth millions of naira have been swept away by the ravaging flood in Mayo Selbe community of Gashaka local government area of Taraba State. The flood comes after a heavy downpour which lasted for hours, on Friday night. And this is the first time that area is witnessing such natural disaster, which has also led to the collapse of a bridge within the same community. Some eyewitnesses who spoke to Channels Television are now appealing to relevant authorities to come to their aid. The traditional ruler of the community, Thomas Mayanga, is soliciting for assistance from both the federal and the state government in rebuilding not just their homes, but their lives. Recently, the Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, Mustafa Habib, disclosed that the recent release of water from the Cameroon Lagdo Dam will cause more disasters downstream Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Benue State government has appealed to residents of all coastal areas to move to safe shelter to avoid the loss of life from the impending flood as a result of the excess water released from the Lagdo Dam in the Cameroons. The Commissioner for Water Resources, Environment and Climate Change, Mr. Odo Ogu, made the call Sunday morning following the reading of the water gauge at River Benue, indicating that the water level has risen to 09.76 from 09.68 on Friday last week.
The water level at River Benue has been rising gradually since the second week of September 2023 because of the increase in rainfall. The Benue State government, as well as some residents, are concerned that this could lead to flooding in some parts of the state. But there are fears that there may be greater danger ahead with the news of the release of excess water from the Lagdo Dam in neighboring Cameroon. On Sunday morning, the water level from River Benue rose higher than the figure recorded last week Friday, prompting concerns about very high chances of flooding in Benue State.
09.68 as at Friday evening, and on Saturday evening it was 09.72. Then as at this morning, the record shows is 09.76. That shows the water level is rising.
To avoid losses and a humanitarian crisis, the Ministry for Humanitarian and Disaster Management is asking residents who live on flood-prone areas in the state to move to higher grounds.
The Honorable Commissioner, Humanitarian and Disaster Management is very much aware with his team about the impending flood that is coming. So sensitization has already commenced to inform those people in the affected areas of the havoc about to happen and the importance of being evacuated to a safety place.
Channels Television visits Agbe community to ascertain the response to this directive. A community leader suggests the construction of little tributaries that link River Benue as a long-term solution instead of the yearly evacuation of residents from their homes.
The construction of this canal by Hyperdeck has done quite a lot and gone a long way to solve this problem. But a lot still needs to be done because there are some, some smaller gutters that need to be constructed to drain out this water, but it's not so.
Despite this suggestion, the state government maintains that residents who live on flood-prone areas must adhere to its directive and evacuate as soon as possible.
The total value of capital importation into Nigeria in the second quarter of the year fell to $1.03 billion from $1.13 billion. What is the implication of this? Channels Television's data analyst Babajide Ogunsanwo has some interesting perspectives after this break. Please stay with us.
Where's Glory?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hello? Where Glow now?
Are they here?
No, Glow, don't go village. Tell all our customer, Abi.
Everybody pay attention. See, now Glow dedicated 10x. Now he might take tension my customers. Now they dash me 10 times the credits when I load. Or even summer me double data join.
Yeah.
Wait, so with 1.5 when they give on the boss, so you they enjoy up to
15,000 naira credit and data.
And I say I never finish you. See, when I say if we enjoy, if I join Glow dedicated 10x, when I go get 1,000 naira welcome credits. Finish.
Glow, you don't win.
Una see they here. Hello, please, I'm looking for Glow.
Please save now Glow with the 5. Now Glow with the go.
Okay, so
enjoy 10 times the value of your recharge on Glow Berekete 10X. You also get 1,000 naira for calls and data and double data bonus on your subscription.
Man has always wanted a rich herbal extract made for the capable man. And when found, one wonders what makes it special. First, take a look at the cap, then the bottle, glamorously endowed with a new label in an elegant shape. And because you love to share with friends, so you ask for a bottle of Confirm Bitters. That is why they call it Mr. Capable Confirm Bitters. Now in a bold new look of 75cl and 37.5 cl bottles for your enjoyment. The taste remains the same. Mr. Capable Confirm Bitters. True bitters.
Come with me. Bask in freedom. There are no deadlines here. Hurry so you can take your time. The sunset from above. A visual buffet. Pictures capture moments. 100 conversations don't exhaust the tale of your new favorite filter. The salt of the sea warm on your dark skin.
I would love to come back here. A truly immersive experience is our reality. South Africa invites you to summer with us. Create your own story with customizable experiences now. Visit southafrica.net. It's never too late to summer in SA.
Product. Trust does not come cheap. It's a word you can bank on. The efficiency you can trade with. Trust should be what you demand and what every partner should give. Trust is the insight you base your business decision on. Trust should give your dreams wings, taking you above and beyond your borders. You have to trust your gut. And trust that your dreams are valid. In our world of corporate and investment banking, trust is a big word. A word that guides and leads our commitment to your growth and that of your business. Go for growth with your trusted partner.
The Federal Ministry of Health, through the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, in collaboration with partners, are commencing vaccination of girls aged 9 to 14 years with HPV vaccine to protect them against cervical cancer. It is estimated that Nigeria records more than 12,000 new cases of cervical cancer with about 8,000 deaths every year. It is the second most common cause of cancer deaths among women. But the good news is cervical cancer can be prevented with vaccination. In line with global cervical cancer elimination strategy of vaccination, screening, early diagnosis and treatment, the HPV vaccine, which prevents against cervical cancer, will be administered to girls aged 9 to 14 years in schools, communities, and all primary healthcare facilities from 24th October 2023. Protect our girls against cervical cancer and other HPV-related diseases by vaccination with HPV vaccine. HPV vaccine and all other vaccines are free, safe, and effective. Women of reproductive age and above are encouraged to go for screening. For further inquiries, call the following NPHCDA toll-free number, 7722. This message is from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency with support from partners.
If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Vice President Kashim Shettima appeals to Kogi residents to support the All Progressives Congress, the APC, as the party flags off its governorship campaign rally in Lokoja, the state capital. Independent National Electoral Commission INEC raises concern over security challenges in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states ahead of November's off-cycle governorship elections. Lagos State Government to demolish the Jankara, Bombata and Kwelewura markets in Lagos Island as part of the state's urban regeneration efforts. And families search for their loved ones as death toll from Hamas attack on Israel rises to 1,000, with over 100 kidnapped from Israel. The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has announced that Jankara, Bombata and Kwelewura markets, all in Lagos, will be demolished for urban regeneration of the area. Governor Sanwo-Olu made this announcement at the inspection of the drainage channels on the island. He says that adequate information will be passed before demolition, but he advised the traders to start moving their goods gradually because the markets will be brought to ground zero.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, and other state officials visit Lagos Island to inspect the drainage channels in the area. Ojogiwa Jankara, a popular area where business activities take place on a daily basis, is taken over by flood. People have no other choice than to move through the water. Other streets in the area are also faced with the same issue of flood due to blocked drainage. Governor Sanwo-Olu says Jankara and 2 other markets will be demolished for proper regeneration of Lagos Island.
It is an official notice again that we will take and clean up the entire market. We will start fully with the Bombata market and the Jankara market. It's going to be ground zero, and there's a full design of what we're going to be putting there. With the Kwelewura market, because it currently about a large number of citizens, we're going to give them adequate notice, and we're going to be working with our concessionaires and with the local government. All of the stakeholders will be brought on board, and we will all agree as to when that demolition and that evacuation will start.
It was also an opportunity to stop over at Ilubirin Pumping Station, where a drainage project is ongoing. He says 2 of the channels will be ready in the next 2 months.
Each of those pumps will be automatically activated. Each one, once the water channel gets up to 4 meters from what I'm told, pump 1 will kick off. Once it gets to 5.5, pump 2 will kick off. And if there's a need for pump 3, it will also, but we've never seen. So we've built capacity and we've also built redundancy as a final solution for the drainage evacuation from Lagos Island. That is for this location. So we will continue to do the work, and I'm sure that by December or January we'll come back here. This project here will be completed.
Achieving a clean and safe environment is everyone's responsibility. The Lagos State government says owners of property found blocking the drainage will be made to face the full wrath of the law.
As rumblings and organized labor continue, the leaders are now absolving themselves from blame in the resolution of the impasse between them and the federal government, which leaves them with no choice than to down tools. The president of the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, in an interview with Channels Television, says the decision to halt the planned nationwide strike was made after extensive discussions with the government, with proof of the government's willingness to make concessions. Mr. Osifo also underscored Labour's message to the government about the importance of reducing the cost of governance and their commitment to implementing these measures.
Yes, in the past, there have been a lot of, agitations here and there, but it hasn't led to the fact that Labour is saying that if you don't cut down cost of governance, we will go on strike. But I think we will get there very soon because the people are suffering. And because the people are suffering, now our satellite has been, we have actually increased our reach to ensure that even the areas we are not looking at before, we are going to start paying much more attention to them. For example, you saw what happened with the CBN and the issue of Ways and Means. We were not aware. Nobody knew about it. But now that it's in the public domain, we now need to pay more attention to that. So the same thing as well. We are going to set up a committee that is going to look specifically on those areas where we must focus on, areas what government can do to cut down the cost of governance. We must have our clear facts. We must have our clear figures so that when we are engaging government, the information is right there. If you just tell them, okay, we want you to cut down cost of governance, and you don't have specifics, it's a problem. But in area of that specificity, we are actually working on it. And I think in the next 1 or 2 months, we'll be able to put all this together and forward it to government, and we'll follow through.
To watch the complete interview with Mr. Festus Osifo on Channels Television, please tune in to Newsnight by 9 p.m. on Monday across all our platforms. Well, earlier this week, the National Bureau of Statistics, the NBS, released the 2023 second quarter report on capital importation in Nigeria. Well, the capital importation report is a vital document that reflects the state of investment that comes to Nigeria. Babajide Ogunsowo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data consultant, is here to share more insights about Nigeria's capital importation performance. Thank you very much, Babajide, for joining us on the news at 10.
Good evening, Anne.
Now, what does the data from the latest investment capital report for the National Bureau of Statistics mean? What is the revelation we're getting from this data?
It depends on how you want to look at it. What the National Bureau of Statistics has done is to release a report for the second quarter of the year. I'm talking about April, May, June. So that's one way to look at it. We could also look at it from the year-to-date perspective, which is January to June. It gives us different information. If you look at it from the second quarter perspective, and that's April to June, what you will notice is the National Bureau of Statistics is telling us that in the second quarter of the year, capital imported into Nigeria, $1 billion. However, if we compare that to the second quarter, same period of last year, it was $1.5 billion. So on a quarter-by-quarter perspective, quarter this year versus the same quarter last year, capital importation into Nigeria is down by approximately 33%. That's if we look at it from a quarterly perspective. But Anne, a more stable perspective to look at it is if we look at it from January to June. And if we take a look at exactly what has happened from January to June, not just January to June this year, previous years, it will allow us to clearly understand the challenges, the opportunities, and the dangers. On a half-year perspective, January to June, the information shows that capital imported into Nigeria, January to June, first half of this year, $2.1 billion. This is only the second time in a decade when capital importation into Nigeria in the first half of the year will be either $2.1 billion or less. The last time in the first half of the year when capital importation was only lower than $2.1 billion was way back in 2016, when capital importation was only $1.7 billion. So in simple terms, if we compare what has happened with regards to money coming into Nigeria from outside the country, first half of 2022 was better, first half of 2021 was better, first half of 2020 was better. Going back 2019, 2018, 2017, the only time when capital importation has been worse than what it was this year was during the first half of 2016. You know what, in one way to summarize this is to understand that what this means is, compared to, if we look at that big number in 2019, when we had capital importation of in excess of $14 billion in the first half of the year, it simply means that the amount of money that came into Nigeria on a daily basis in the first half of 2019 is the amount of money that now comes into Nigeria in a week. Again, you heard that clearly. In 2019, on an average, the amount of money that comes into Nigeria on a daily is what now comes into Nigeria on a weekly. That is the information from the National Bureau of Statistics.
But Babajide, how do investors, especially, of course, external investors, perceive investing in Nigeria? Anyone will want to ask, do business return outweigh the risks?
It depends on the sectors. There are several sectors in Nigeria. Yes, indeed, the business returns outweigh the risks. But the challenges Nigeria faces isn't peculiar to Nigeria. Based on the United Nations report, they say Africa has a challenge, and I'll explain. In 2021, capital imported into all African countries in 2021 and $80 billion. 2021, capital imported into Africa, $80 billion. However, last year, 2022, based on the report from the United Nations, capital imported into Africa has dropped by almost half, only $45 billion. And so it's not a Nigerian problem, it's an African problem, because investors are concerned that the world might see another recession. Investors are concerned about how easy will it be for them to get their money out if they invest. And investors also see Africa and they see a lot of policy uncertainties with respect to how governance changes. And if we even take a look at the numbers shows what investors are worried about. And if we take a look at that critical portion of capital importation, I'm talking about foreign direct investment. What we see is, in the first half of this year, that critical portion of capital importation, foreign direct investment, first half of this year into Nigeria, $134 million. And however, that is the lowest foreign direct investment into Nigeria in the first half of the year in more than 10 years. Look at the first half of 2014 into Nigeria. Capital importation in excess of $950 million, approaching that $1 billion mark in the first half of 2014. Now, first half of 2023, $134 million. In simple terms, Nigeria of before is different from Nigeria of today. And if money isn't coming in from the global financial players, especially the United Kingdom and the United States, it will affect the prospects of job creation, it will affect the prospects of growth and development. The summary from this report, especially foreign direct investment, is that Nigeria, as well as other African countries, have to now be more creative, more innovative about how they can use savings of citizens to be able to channel growth and prosperity for its citizens.
Okay, so what is the outlook for capital importation in Nigeria? Let's talk about the future now. In the last quarter of this year, what is the outlook looking like? So,
last quarter of the year, October to December, we're already in October. There are several ways to predict the future, and it's not easy. But one simple way to look at what will happen in this last quarter is to look at what has happened in previous last quarters, especially in the last 5 years. It will give us an indication of what might happen in the next days of this year. And if we take a look at how capital has been distributed over the last 5 years, here's what you notice. In 2018, for instance, $16.8 billion came into Nigeria. Most of that money came in the first quarter. The least came in the fourth quarter, only 13%. Same thing happened in 2019 and 2020. Most of the capital comes in the first quarter of the year. The least comes in the last quarter of the year. In 2021, it was slightly different. Most of that money came into Nigeria in the fourth quarter. But what happened again last year? Most of the money comes in the first quarter. Very little comes in the last quarter. So, Anne, the summary is, in the last 5 years, 4 out of those 5 years, most of the money comes into Nigeria in the first quarter of the year, and very little comes in the last quarter. If going by that history and if that record continues, then the next days for the rest of this year, we shouldn't really expect much.
All right, Babajide Ogunsowo, always hope for positive things to happen.
Oh, no,
let's pray.
The future is bright. The future has to be bright. Probably even brighter than you, brighter than your smile.
Okay, thank you very much, Babajide Ogunsowo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data consultant. Thank you for your insight.
Pleasure is
and
all mine.
Contribution on the news at 10. Let's move to other stories now. The Nigeria Customs Service Federal Operations Unit Zone A has intercepted 12 trailer loads of foreign parboiled rice, amongst other seizures, at different locations within the border corridors of the southwestern states. Speaking with journalists at the unit's base in Ikeja area of Lagos, the Acting Controller General of Customs, Bashir Adeniyi, explains that the seizure is to serve as punitive measure for the perpetrators and curb smuggling in the southwestern zone.
We are all aware of the fact that agriculture remains the cornerstone of Nigeria's economy, and it underscores federal government's commitment to achieving self-sustaining growth and enhancing the quality of life of all Nigerians. And in aligning ourselves with this commitment and the spirit of patriotism, our officers in Zone A executed a series of operations resulting in the interceptions and seizure of 7,029 50-kilogram bags of foreign parboiled rice during this period. These decisive actions took place at various times and locations, as we had shown you, within the border areas, within areas of coverage of the Federal Operations Unit Zone A. The objectives of these operations were twofold. The first one is to discourage potential traders from engaging in smuggling activities, and the second is to inflict maximum financial losses on smugglers.
Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have arrested a 67-year-old man at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, for ingesting 100 wraps of cocaine. He was arrested on arrival during the clearance of passengers from Addis Ababa after a body scan revealed the illicit substance. In another incident, operatives of the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano intercepted a female while boarding a Saudi Arabian airline flight to Saudi Arabia with 52 wraps of illicit substance with a total weight of 767 grams. Also, a joint operation led to the recovery of 10.3 tons of cannabis sativa covering 4.152 hectares of land at the Obafemi Awode local government area in Ogun State. As the war on illicit drug continues, the NDLEA raided Obi Camp in Owa West local government area, where 30 sacks of skunk weighing 300 kilograms concealed in charcoal were evacuated from an abandoned house. Arrests and recoveries were also made in Gombe, where 50,000 capsules of tramadol were recovered. Also during the patrol, officers arrested another suspect with 30 kilograms of compressed pawpaw-shaped cannabis weighing 30 kilograms. The Yobe government, under its World Bank-funded program, Agroclimatic Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscapes, is now adopting multi-sectoral approach to help reclaim 100,000 hectares of land lost to desert encroachment in the next 6 years. This decision of the stakeholders at the inauguration of 153 local government management committee in the state to help support the government's drive, as well as take ownership of the projects to be executed.
A state with 45,502 square kilometers is one of the northern states that has adversely been affected by desert encroachment, making movement of goods for economic activities difficult. Although the government plants trees to avert the desertification, other factors such as tree felling to source for energy is contributing to deforestation. The state's program, Agroclimatic Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscapes, is taking a multi-sectoral approach through the inauguration of a 9-man management committee in each of the 17 local government areas to address these challenges.
This project is a local base, and whatever activities are implemented at the local level, it must be owned by the community. So therefore, involvement of the community is a key priority of implementing the activities of this project.
The inauguration of the local government monitoring committee is part of the prerequisite of ACRISAL. The same committee was inaugurated at the national level. The same committee was also inaugurated at the state level. And to actually coin it off, this is the last batch and the last entry of the committee, federal, state, and the local government. So by this activity of today, we have concluded the complete structure of ACRISAL. Now what is left is just work.
Some of the committee members believe that the implementation of the program at the grassroots level will help the government achieve its goals faster.
This project is very, very important to Yobe State. As some of us may know, the entire Yobe, I would say about 70% of the state is being faced by desertification. And with this project, inshallah, we were able to fight the desertification.
The project, which is concurrently executed across 19 northern states of the country and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, is to last for the next 6 years.
The governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, is assuring residents that the state government under his watch will continue to provide the enabling environment for investors who engage in lawful activities. The governor gave this assurance while commissioning the Trash to Cash Tear Fund recycling facility in Yola, the Adamawa State capital.
Yola, the Adamawa State capital, is witnessing a rise in plastic recycling centers across the state, as speaking of plastic waste from refuse dumps is now a common sight. With a view to address the issues of plastic waste, the Sangare Boli community converged on the Yola Renewal Foundation, a trash-to-cash recycling facility, for its commissioning. Governor Umaru Fintiri, alongside his deputy, arrived at the venue of the event, accompanied by some government officials. The menace of plastic waste on the environment is again brought to the fore.
From here in Yola, and that is something we are very, very proud of, that we have been able to work with the local population, the local young people, to create job opportunities so that we can improve the livelihoods of the community.
In the world, and third in Africa after Egypt and Algeria for plastic population in 2002, with an estimated 2.5 million of tons generated annually. Although there are several recycling initiatives in Nigeria, sadly, only a small percentage of this plastic waste is recycled.
Governor Umaru Fintiri, while addressing the people, reiterates the ban on felling of trees, stressing that government is committed to providing healthy environment, just as the executive director of the Yola Recycling Facility sheds more light on the impact of the facility on the communities.
As you know, environmental degradation
pollution and improper disposal of waste have detrimental effect on our health, ecosystem, and quality of life in our communities. This project sufficiently aligned with our 8-point agenda, especially in the area of determination to protect the environment and mitigate the adverse effect of climatic change.
Going into these communities to get this plastic, and then we empower the household for them to get something. We're able to mop up these plastics from these communities. Just working in 5 communities in Yola North, and we've been able to mop up over 300 tons of plastic, which is a huge success for us. If you go around these communities, you find out that you don't see these plastics as it used to be in the past, because even the people in those communities now appreciate the value of plastic.
With the commissioning, the government is therefore appealing to other development agencies on environment to partner with the state government for environmental sustainability.
While it's creativity unleashed as over 40 fashion designers and over 100 supermodels converged on the International Convention Center in Awka for the 2nd edition of the Anambra Fashion Expo 2023. The convener and chief executive officer of Aura Foundation, Mr. Daura Soludo, who is an expert in fashion and textile craft, disclosed that the event is a celebration of creativity and talent, and her passion is to bring Anambra to the world through fashion. It's the Anambra Fashion Expo 2023 with the focus on unleashing creativity by the young talents in the southeastern state. And the spoken word artist is first on the roll call before the models trot down the catwalk.
Arise, O compatriots. Nigeria calls, obey. But Nigeria only called to tell us that the cost of living is now choking the living. This is for the times we thought it was over. Shut the door on the faces of our passions, sat at home and maxed our fears, washed our hands off of our failures. We searched for the remedy of a virus that was hell-bent on wiping us out. Did we forget?
Then the runway comes alive, fashion houses showcasing their creative expressions with an array of designs. It's not just about fashion. There is also a cultural display by local flutist who introduces the wordsmith. These adorable kids are not left out on the runway. The convener of the fashion show says the initiative is a celebration of talent and creativity.
This event is not just about showcasing the talent of our designers, but also fostering collaboration and growth within our fashion ecosystem. It is about nurturing the next generation of designers and creatives who will carry the torch of innovation forward.
I think I'm supposed to do my own.
For the governor, Chukwuma Soludo, Anambra is the home of the best, and the fashion show is part of the creative economy of the state, as all displayed emanate from Anambra.
Anambra is a home of the best, and we can't produce anything less than the best. The fashion show is part of our creative industry, part of the new economy. You have to patronize and buy made in Anambra. If it's not made in Anambra, made in Nigeria. Because that is the only way we are going to create millions of jobs.
The high point of the event is the announcement of winners by the head of operations, Mr. Ejimofor Opara, with the winner of the 10 for 10 category, FB Designs, taking home the 1 million naira prize.
Match day 2 of the Nigeria Premier Football League played across the country earlier today recorded 11 goals, while Gombe United stunned the reigning champions Enyimba International 2-0 at the Pantami Township Stadium. Lobby Stars and Kwara United picked home wins against Sunshine Stars and Abia Warriors. In Ikene, Remo Stars rallied from a goal down to beat 7-time champions Rangers at 2-1. Sporting Lagos held former champions Aqua United at a 0-0 draw at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo. And Arsenal laid down an early marker in the English Premier League title race by beating Manchester City 1-0 this evening, while Liverpool were held by Brighton in a pulsating 2-2 draw. Gabriel Martinelli's deflected strike on 86 minutes handed the Gunners their first league victory over City since 2015 to leapfrog the champions into second place in the table. West Ham's Mohamed Kudus scored an 89th minute equaliser, all to deny Newcastle United victory in the thriller at London Stadium. Wolves and Aston Villa also settled for a share of the points after 2 goals in the space of 2 second-half minutes at the stadium. And away from the English Premier League, here is how some other sporting events played out on the international scene.
World number 2 Iga Swiatek delivers a dominant performance to win the China Open earlier today, crowning a resurgent run of form with a 6-6 win over Lyudmila Samsonova in Beijing. Swiatek shed tears of joy after a 69-minute masterclass which left the 4-time Grand Slam champions 465 points behind top-ranked Sabalenka and with a big chance to leapfrog the Belarusian at the WTA Finals on October 29.
Ladies and gentlemen, the runner of the tournament, Lyudmila Samsonova, and as the champion, Iga Swiatek. Now, this moment belongs to champion of the 2023 China Open Women's Singles.
Still in China, defending champion Daniil Medvedev was unlucky as he bows out of the Shanghai Masters in straight set to 26th ranked Sebastian Korda. The world number 3 was broken in the second game in the second set, and Korda never looked back as he won in 88 minutes. And China's Premier Lin Qiang joined thousands of spectators for a colorful and joy-themed closing ceremony for the 19th Asian Games at the Olympic Stadium in Hangzhou earlier today.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the closing ceremony of the 19th Asian Games Hangzhou.
12,407 athletes from 45 nations competed in 40 sports at the Hangzhou Games, with host China finishing top with a record 201 gold medals for an 11th successive game.
Fernando stands ready for the challenge in 2026. The challenge to do it well and do it differently.
At least 600 Israelis have been killed since Hamas militants invaded their country on Friday. It is also believed that as many as 100 soldiers and civilians were kidnapped when the fighters crossed the border and raided the communities. It comes as Israel retaliated, sending drones into the Gaza Strip, where the militants returned after the havoc and the damages.
More than 24 hours after the unprecedented attacks on Israel by Hamas militants, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant met security heads. Hours before, Israel was responding to Hamas attacks as the fighters rampaged through Israeli towns, killing hundreds and wounding more than 1,000, spiraling violence threatening a major new Middle East war. As of Sunday morning, the Israeli military, which faces questions over its failure to prevent the attack, said it was still fighting, but had regained control of most infiltration points along security barriers, killing hundreds of attackers and taking dozens more prisoner. Defense Minister Gallant said that Israel would exact a heavy price for the attacks. Israeli soldiers in the southern town of Sderot, where Hamas fighters overran the Erez crossing, a high-security facility that channels people entering and leaving Gaza through a tight series of controls, along with the police station and other security posts, examined the damage caused. They say during the attack on Gaza, they hit about 800 targets with fighter jets, helicopter and unmanned aerial vehicles. Among major buildings destroyed in Gaza was the National Bank building. Footage showed an explosion and thick clouds of smoke rising from the site of the bank. It comes as senior Hezbollah official Hashim Swadin said his group's guns and rockets were with Palestinian militants who carried out a surprise attack on Israel, killing at least 600 people.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قاتلوهم يعذبهم الله بأيديكم.
Meanwhile, Hamas militants claim in a new recording released on Sunday to have carried out new infiltration operations against Israel overnight. The surprise Hamas attack represented the biggest incursion into Israel and its bloodiest day since Egypt and Syria launched a sudden assault in an effort to reclaim lost territory in the Yom Kippur War 50 years ago.
In the meantime, the Israeli ambassador to Nigeria, Ambassador Michael Freeman, says that Israel is focused on winning the war on Hamas and in returning those kidnapped back to the country. He expressed his thoughts on the ongoing war with Hamas with our foreign affairs correspondent, Amarachi Ubani, saying that while hostilities remain between Israel and Palestine, Israel will not condone the atrocities by Hamas militants on innocent Israelis.
They all came from Gaza. We know for a fact they all came in from Gaza. That's the only access point. They came in through there. They came in at a number of different points. They came by air and they came by land. They attempted to come by sea as well, but we stopped those terrorist infiltrations. So they came from those areas. And then, as you said, they ran back to those that were able to, ran back to Gaza, taking with them women and children and bodies, and all sorts of different other things, where we've seen some of these horrific pictures on social media of what they've then done to these people. We saw an 11-year-old boy on television yesterday in Gaza being hit and kicked by other children in Gaza, being bullied. We've seen 84-year-old women and 85-year-old women, with some of them with severe Parkinson's, being kidnapped with their carers, being taken into Gaza. It's been horrific, and we know they all came from Gaza. We know they all went back to Gaza, and Gaza is where the problem is with Hamas, and it is about Hamas. This is not about the Palestinians. This is about Hamas. It's about a terror infrastructure, and it's about Hamas and their death squads and making sure they can't do this again.
But how?
And the main news again. Vice President Kashim Shettima today appealed to Kogi residents to support the All Progressives Congress, the APC, in next month's governorship election in the state. And we told you that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is raising concern over security challenges in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states ahead of next month's off-cycle governorship elections. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. Have a wonderful week ahead. Good night.
Hello and welcome to Diaspora Network, where we showcase Nigerians who are doing the country proud in the different continents of the world. I'm Teniola Oyetayo. On the show today, we look at outstanding Nigerian physicians in the diaspora who are adding value through diagnosing, treating and preventing illnesses. Our special report focuses on migrating doctors and their contribution to host countries. Well, before we delve into our interesting lineup for today, let's take a look at the news of the week.
The US President Joe Biden has selected 2 Nigerian professionals into his advisory council from the worlds of basketball to banking. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission's chairman, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, has congratulated Chini Ogumwike and Osagi Imasogi, who are now part of the 12-member Advisory Council on Africa Diaspora Engagement. The Advisory Council represents the diversity of the African diaspora from African American communities around America and African immigrant communities across the continent and the Caribbean. The 2-time WNBA All-Star, executive producer and NBA analyst Ogumike has previously been recognized as being the first black woman to host a national daily sports talk radio show, which led her to become an honoree in Forbes 30 Under 30 list. Osagi Imasogi is the co-founder of private equity firm PIPV Capital and serves on the board of a number of financial institutions which manage over $28 billion US. British Vogue has announced that Chioma Nnamdi will be replacing the outgoing Edward Enningful as the new head of editorial content starting on October 9th. Chioma becomes the first black woman to edit for the fashion magazine. The 44-year-old began her career on the features desk of the Evening Standard in London. She went on to work as a music-focused style director at Fader, and in 2014, Chioma joined Vogue to help with the relaunch of Vogue.com. Chioma, who will also work in the music and culture department, says that the new job title is not insignificant and that her main focus will be on digital storytelling and keeping Vogue interactive with readers. 27-year-old computer scientist Inioluwa Deborah Raji has been honoured as a member of Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People in Artificial Intelligence. Her journey began when she was